May kasabihan na time is money. But time is also truth. Kami mga journalists, we think about these two things all the time. And there's a synergy and there's a tension. There's a constant tension between the two. There's a reason why a lot of media organizations are called Time or the Times, di ba? Ang daming dyaryo all over the world called the Times. And this is my all-time favorite newspaper. The New York Times. Many of you probably read it every day. I've been reading it since I was in college. So you can imagine the thrill that I felt when a New York Times correspondent knocked on my door to interview me. About almost 20 years ago, I had just covered a firefight between the Abu Sayyaf and the military. The Abu Sayyaf were holding 3 Americans hostage, and that's why there was interest by the New York Times. So, I tried to remain very calm, but inside my heart was thumping, and I was very excited about, for the very first time I would be interviewed, and maybe I would be mentioned in my favorite all-time newspaper. So, nagmamadali yung correspondent nila, an American correspondent based in Asia, and a couple of days later, she did come up with a story that mentioned some of the information I gave her. Ito siya, February 9, 2002. And sure enough, she mentioned me. She mentioned me once. There you go. She misspelled my name. So that's the first and last time I was ever mentioned in the New York Times, but it will never come out in a Google search. All right, so my basic point is even the very best journalists, very best newspapers and publications in the world make mistakes. To me, this is a horrendous, monstrous typographical error. But that's the nature of our business. We are tasked with finding the truth very often under extreme time pressure, extreme deadline. I'm never going to I never mentioned this to Jane Perlez. I didn't want to embarrass her. She's one of my favorite journalists. She's probably in her 70s now, but she's been covering Asia. She's in Beijing now, and very, very good journalist. But it taught me a big lesson, that you can always make mistakes as a journalist simply because of the nature of the job. All right, I've been in journalism for 29 years. Yung mga millennial, tinatawag na digital natives, well, I'm an analog native. That's me. Sometime in the late 80s, as you can see, I used the analog tools like a film camera. I don't know how many of you still remember film cameras before they became retro. Then I also have a notebook that actually has paper. And I was in a place where I was covering the plebiscite in Ifugao. And I had to file a story almost every day. I had to travel. I had to ride a jeep an hour to get to the nearest telephone, landline. There were no fax machines then. I would have to call in my story. And elsewhere in the Cordillera, very few towns in the Cordillera at that time had telephones. I had to go all the way to Baguio just to call in my story almost every day. So we were under extreme deadline pressure, but at the same time, there are all kinds of physical and technical constraints for why we couldn't do what is taken for granted today, which is journalism is expected to be extremely fast. And that's our lifestyle today. Everything has to be fast. Wi-Fi has to be fast. Our news is not just fast, it's real time. It's breaking, it's tweeting, it's live streaming, it's Facebook Live, it's real time. That's the expectation today. But I think a lot is lost when there's so much pressure to be instant. Like most couples, my wife and I used to eat a lot of fast food, and then when we got a little bit older and we started feeling a little creaky, we decided, okay, we're not going to eat any more fast food. We're just going to eat slow food. there's such a thing as slow food. There's a slow food movement. Well, I like to think that there's also a genre in journalism that is the equivalent of slow food. So there is a problem with combining journalism and technology today, and it creates this huge tension between speed and accuracy. There's a speed-accuracy trade-off. What we gain in speed, we often lose in factual accuracy. So all this tweeting, all this Facebook Live, instant breaking and live reporting, I would withhold judgment if I were you when you're listening and do a little bit more research. Because yung may kasabihan nga, it's just the first draft of history, di ba? Journalism is history in a hurry. It's the historians who actually have the luxury of combing through all the newspapers that came out years before, and then being able to corroborate them with a whole range of new sources. But we still need facts, okay? Because we need the truth. Facts are the bedrock of truth. In fact, sa akin, facts are the nuggets and building blocks of truth, no? And then even when you get it right, even when your stories are factually accurate, they are still snapshots of the truth. There are much larger truths that I think journalism is capable of doing. Truths that give us a deeper understanding of our world, truths that show change over time, truths that contain context and present the bigger picture. These aren't the kind of truths that will come out in a tweet. They're not usually going to come out in a Facebook Live interview or a live stream or something that had to be filed an hour before. So there's certain genres of journalism that are assigned to do this. And they're called long form. There's a whole website called long form, diba? And it's nonfiction. We're used to long form in fiction. We're not used to it in nonfiction. And with Twitter and with social media and technology, there's a danger that long form might disappear. But luckily, I think people are realizing that because of technology, long form has acquired new value. So one of these long forms is called documentary, and that's what I've been doing since the late 80s. I've done my share of breaking news. I've done my share of live reporting, tweeting, but every month, at least for the past 15 years, I've also been doing documentaries. Now, there's a limitation to doing documentaries for television, because we usually have just a few days in a week. That's the nature of the beast. If you produce content for a program, you're part of an assembly line. Whether your work is ready or not, it has to air. And that's where mistakes can also come in. And that's where you can also fall short of the truth. But my colleagues and I have found a semi-solution. We have decided to follow some subjects over time. And I want to just show a 5-minute montage of one of those subjects, a blind child. If you can just play the video.
Para saan ba yung cane? Bakit ka nagki-cane?
Para hindi ako maumpog. Ano yun?
Hindi, may dumaan na nagbibisikleta.
May anak ka lalaki?
Ako?
Oo.
Oo.
Alon?
Oo, pangalan niya Alon.
Mag-play kaya kami.
Oh, gusto mo? Saan tayo pupunta? Ha?
Ipinanganak na bulag si Aleeia. Ngunit madilim man ang kanyang mundo, puno naman ng sigla at liwanag ang kanyang buhay. 5 taon siya noong makilala ko. Nagkasabay lang kami sa isang biyahe noong taong 2007.
Uy, si Aleeia, nasa front row. Naalala mo pa ako?
Para sa inyo.
Uy, thank
Mga
you.
letters po.
Okay, galing... Oh,
9 na taon na siya noong sumunod kaming magkita.
okay, pati sa mga kasama ko, meron din. Salamat. Kumusta na?
Okay lang po. Ang tagal kita hinintay.
Oo.
Ang tagal natin di nagkita eh.
Inilaban ng kanyang yumaong ina na si Fina na mailagay si Aleeia sa isang regular na paaralan. Hindi naging hadlang ang kanyang pagkakaiba para magtagumpay sa klase ng puro mag-aaral na nakakakita. Ngunit sa isang lipunan na kaunti lang ang serbisyo at pagkakataon para sa mga may kapansanan, hanggang saan maaring mangarap si Aleeia.
Aray ko!
Grade 6 na si Aleeia sa Barangka Elementary School sa Marikina.
It's PE time! It's PE time! La 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 la! Ikaw talaga! I wanna dance.
Sa pagbilang sa mga tulad ni Aleeia sa mga regular na klase, nasanay ang ibang mga bata sa kanila.
Korda rin kayo dyan eh. Wait lang, Aleeia!
At naisasali pa kahit sa PE.
Sabay lang, mame! Ma! Ayan. Ayoko nga.
May ipinakilala siya sa aming isa pang bulag na estudyante, si Renzo.
Yung...
Patunay sila na may mga pintunang nabubuksan para sa persons with disabilities. Ngunit ayon kay Aleeia mismo, may mga kaklase siya na sarado pa rin ang isip.
Nakaka-disappoint kasi mayroong mga tao na sabihin na po natin na halimbawa, periodical test ng English, nakakuha ka ng 45/50. Sasabihin sa'yo, ay, kaya mo lang nakuha yung test na yan kasi naawa sa'yo yung teacher, itinuro sa'yo sagot. Yung parang nakaka-disappoint na, bakit pagka-blind po ba, wala na, hindi rin po ba kami katulad nyo na may kakayahan din? Eh lahat naman po ng tao binigyan ng Diyos ng kakayahan. So yun po yung nararamdaman ko. Eh sa tingin niyo po ba, para sa isang blind na bata or tao, paano po ba niya ma-appreciate yung art?
Alam mo, yung art kasi ngayon, yung sculpture nga eh, ang kaiba dyan eh, parang, di ba kayo hinihipon nyo yung pinag-aaralan, hinihipon nyo yung mga tao na
Opo.
kikilatis nyo. Ganon din ang sculpture, pwede mo hipuin.
Take your time. Mamadali mo. Try to visualize it. Although separate. Pero part siya.
Simple lang din siya. Hindi ko alam kung ito din yung nakikita niya o may iba akong nakikita. Pero sa tingin ko, ito tsaka ito, parang siguro kaya to ginawa. Ito, parang nagsisimula siya sa, yung alam niyo yung tipo ng tao na nagsimula lang sa wala hanggang sa biglang, siya na yung ginagalang, nirespeto. Parang ganon. Yun yung nakikita ko sa gawa niya.
All right, thank you. What will she do next? Well, she's currently 14 and she's turning 15 next week. And there she is, Aleeia Maclit. Please stand, Aleeia. She's with her sister Ayat. And then her mentor in art, si Sajid Imao, is also here. Please stand. Anyway, it's just 5 minutes out of 4 documentaries that I've already done on Aleeia and other blind children. I've been following several of them as not just because I'm interested in their lives, but because I see them as a social window. That's their wider relevance. As themselves, they're very interesting, but I think they're also interesting in what their lives, their experiences, and their situations say about how society is changing, how society is progressing or not progressing. And I tell my colleagues, Aleeia will probably far outlive me, and I'd love it if some of my colleagues, my younger colleagues, could continue documenting her life and the lives of other blind children that we had already started documenting, just to show how society has changed and still needs to change. All right, from just documenting a person and a subject over time, and this particular person, I came across some large truths. Not just facts, but large truths. One of them is a blind person can aspire to be a journalist. Aleeia, we showed her interviewing, but she is actually a campus journalist in her school in Marikina. She joins and wins in journalism competitions. She has talked to me at length about how to interview, about how to put information together. I mean, she is on her way to being a journalist. I don't want to say blind journalist, she's just on her way to being a journalist. Appreciate art. Previously, she said, before she met Sajid, she said, she didn't feel art in her heart. But then Sajid said, you don't have to see art to appreciate it. And Sajid actually makes art that you can feel. And there are other senses that you can use to appreciate art. A disabled child with grit and social support can thrive. Obviously, someone like Aleeia and the other blind children that we've been documenting, they have a lot of strength of character, and they wouldn't be able to achieve without that, because they were born with certain disadvantages, and you have to have grit to be able to overcome those. But grit is often not enough, and we saw in our documentation that social support, family support, school support, societal support are also very, very important. And a disadvantaged person can inspire and be an example. Whenever we show a documentary about Aleeia, we always get the feedback from people who say, man, I shouldn't be complaining about anything. I should be thankful for everything that I have. Because here is this person who has probably many reasons to complain, and yet you never hear her complaining. Very often I'm approached by students who have to do their thesis. These days, anybody can do videos. People have access to technology that enables them to document just about anything, unlike when I was growing up. And then some of them come to me and they say, I want to go to Mindanao and interview, the MILF or the Abu Sayyaf, and these are students. They want to imitate people they see on television. I say, start with your families. Find the oldest members of your families. These people are founts of stories, memories, truths, and you won't get killed interviewing them. Okay? Start with your family. Start with your communities. Start with just the people that you know. And then you work from there. Because everyone is a story. Everyone has stories. You don't have to talk to anybody famous. Okay? And that's how you learn. And, I tell these kids it's great to have fun. But the older you get, the more you realize that time is short. So always have a mindfulness that time is swift. But there are still some things that are worth devoting a lot of time to. And always remember, YOLO. And I'm constantly reminding them to spend enough time. And the more time you spend looking at a subject, researching a subject, the closer you will get to the truth. Maraming salamat po.